Hi friends, welcome back to Extraordinary Connection. My name is Dillon Burns. I'm the pastor at Manchester United Methodist Church and glad to be with you on this Tuesday of Holy Week. Have you ever been writing a bereavement card, perhaps for a friend or beloved family member, and gotten out the card and had to pause at the moment at which you put the pen or pencil to paper because you realized you didn't know quite what to say? You discovered all over again that there is really nothing good to say in the face of death, of grief, of pain, and of loss. I've had this experience more than a few times. There are no good words in these moments, but we look for them anyway. As a people, we're generally not all that good in these moments of death. And we often try to run from them by making sense of them, escaping the pain by turning it into something other than it is. We try to rationalize it or give it a purpose. This week is essentially the bereavement card of Christian tradition and of the Christian year. We're following Jesus as he goes from Palm Sunday and the entrance into Jerusalem to his death on the cross and then coming resurrection. That death on the cross is a challenging thing for us to grapple with, a challenging thing to put words around, and so often we try to move right past it. We try to make sense or rationalize Jesus' death in the context of the coming resurrection. I think, however, that when we do that, we're missing something important. For in fact, Scripture has a lot of writings that try to make sense and grapple with Jesus' death. This is where we come up with all of the various atonement theories, if you've ever heard that word before, the reasons and rationalizations behind why Jesus died and why his death was what led to the resurrection and our salvation. And yet, in all of those writings, there's a multiplicity of understandings of why it happened, all captured in Scripture, because it's hard to make sense of. And so I wonder if perhaps the most valuable thing we can do is not to try to make sense of it this week, but simply to rest in it. For there are times in life when death invades, when grief weighs us down, when we cannot escape pain and sorrow, and we would do well to rest in it, to recognize that God is in those moments too. There is a story in the beginning of the Bible, in the book of Genesis. Joseph, who you might remember, grows up with his family, but he is the most beloved of his father's sons, which means he is his brother's least favorite, and he is sold by them into slavery and goes off to Egypt, where eventually he saves the Egyptians and his own family from famine. They rediscover him at one point. In the very end of his life, Joseph says this to his brothers. This is Genesis chapter 50, verse 20. He says to them, "You planned something bad for me, but God produced something good from it, in order to save the lives of many people, just as he's doing today." What I think is exceptional about this verse is that it manages to hold together the horror of what his brothers did and the good that came from it. It holds them both at the same time and does not try to imply that what his brothers did by selling him into slavery was good at all, but that God managed to redeem it. Friends, this week, Jesus' death on the cross is not good in and of itself. It's a display of some of the worst of humanity. A display of how when goodness comes, when God appears, our inclination is very often to kill God. And yet, God works something good out of that. And in every moment of death and grief and pain and suffering, it is not good and we cannot make it good, but God can bring something good from it. This week, may we hold space for the worst moments, so that we might also see the goodness God brings from it. Friends, prayers and blessings on our Holy Week celebration. Go in peace.